Yeah. Portrait of the artist as a young man. Let me give you a brief introduction on the novelist. I believe you know the novelist James Joyce. James Joyce was born on February 2, that is in 1882, near Dublin, Ireland. And he was the oldest of 10 children born to a well meaning but financially inept father and a pious mother. Joyce's parents managed to scrape together enough money to send their talented son to the Conglows Wood College, a prestigious boarding school, where Joyce excelled as an actor and writer. Later, he attended University College in Dublin, where he became increasingly committed to language and literature as a champion of modernism. In 1902, Joyce left the university and moved to Paris, but briefly returned to Ireland in 1903 upon the death of his mother. Shortly after his mother's death, Joyce began work on the story that would later become a portrait of the artist as a young man. And Joyce, after completing the novel A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man in Zurich, that is in 1950, he returned to Paris where he wrote two more major novels named Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake over the course of the next several years. These three novels, that is A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, Ulysses, and Finnegan's Wake, along with a short story collection called Dubliners. These form the core of his remarkable literary career. He died in 1941. Today, Joyce is celebrated as one of the great literary pioneers of the 20th century. He was one of the first writers to make extensive and convincing use of a stream of consciousness. This is a technique, and let me explain what this technique means. Stream of consciousness is actually a stylistic form in which written prose seeks to represent the character's stream of inner thoughts and perceptions rather than render these characters from an objective external perspective. And this technique is used in the novel, this particular novel, and mostly we can see the technique in the opening sections and also in chapter 5. And Joyce hoped that his portrait, this novel, so I'm going to mention this as only a portrait. I believe you'll be able to follow because the title is too long. So this portrait refers to the title. So Joyce hoped that this his work, a portrait, the novel, would be an autobiographical novel. It is turning his life into fiction. And upon close examination of the title, it reveals to the readers that Joyce paints his fictional portrait of the artist and of the young man. So, two characters you could see portrait. The title reveals portrait of the artist and of the young man. So, portrait of two artist and the young man. And the novel can be classified as condensed Roman. That is the meaning is a German. It's actually a German word meaning a novel about an artist. And I believe you're familiar with the second one, Bildungsroman, meaning it is also a German word meaning a novel of development or education. So if we understand these two terms, we can more clearly understand Joyce's primary purpose of writing the novel. We must keep in mind, however, that many of the people and the situations of the novel have been presented in the form of satire. And we must also be aware that the author selected this technique to emphasize how the life of an artist differs from that of others